Hey everyone, happy 420. I have another educational video for you. This one's about testosterone levels. I'm going to try to make it quick, but I have a lot of things to cover, so we'll see how it goes. Alright, so first thing anybody should know about testosterone levels is the measurements and what the healthy measurements are. Every doctor uses, a lot of doctors will use different measurements. The correct measurement or range that we're supposed to be tested on is between 300 and 1,000. A lot of doctors will test you in the range of, don't quote me on this because this is not the range that my doctor tests me on, because this is not the range we're supposed to be tested in, because it's a slightly different readings in us versus cisgender males. I think the range is around 20 and 35, something like that. So you can see the vast difference in the two numbers. The lower number is your level of free testosterone, which was advised against testing us in because their levels were different and they didn't have enough studies to really show what ours was compared to cisgender was on hormones, etc., etc. But if you're going to a doctor who doesn't work with a lot of trans people and is mostly testing cisgender males, that's usually the level they look for in cisgender males. Our levels between 300 and 1,000 need to be explained further, because there are different ages that range is appropriate for. Hold on, I'm tethered to the wall, and I forgot to bring my ashtray over here. Oops. Hold on. Okay, so the lower range in the 300s is for a older man who is no longer producing as much testosterone as he used to when he was younger. This is like more appropriate for somebody in their 60s and plus. The very high range, 1,000, some of us are not comfortable in, and you can have negative side effects if you are that high. So you should experiment with your range to see what you feel best at. Because me personally, around 1,000, I didn't feel great. And I've sat at 1,000 a few different times, and I'd like to explain those. The middle of the range, 500 to 700, is for young and middle-aged people. 1,000 is about the highest you would ever want to be, and that's probably like 18, 16 maybe, something like that. To put it into perspective, somebody who is like a bodybuilder on steroids, I work at a gym, I actually have access to this information. I recently found out that bodybuilders can sit as high as 4,000. That's absolutely ridiculous. I was having side effects of aromatizing, testosterone aromatizing in me above 1,000. Holy crap. That's just, I wouldn't want to go through that. Okay, so I personally sit best in the 400s, or no, wow, 700s. The 700s is my personal appropriate range. A lot of people feel best in the 500s. Some people feel best in the 800s. You really have to experiment early on in your dosage to see what is the most appropriate for you and increase or decrease it as you need to if you see any negative changes, like bad mood swings or lack of energy or just being pissed off all the time. You might want to check to see if your levels are appropriate. Now, as far as dosage goes, I have almost always taken 0.75 of a milliliter. The most common dose for us is half of a milliliter, which is the popular 0.5. Now, I have recently had to change my dose. Now, my doctor didn't have me take less on a weekly basis. Instead, he had me stretch mine out longer. Instead of once a week shots, I now do every 10 to 14 days as I feel like it. And it's actually been working out pretty well for me, because my once a week shots had me sitting a little over 1,000. And I was having side effects like being moody all the time and being generally pissed off, night sweats where I can't sleep, there's one particular side effect that I don't like to talk about that made me really, really desperate for top surgery. And it can happen to cisgender guys and transgender guys, especially if you don't have if you're taking too much testosterone or your testosterone levels are sitting too high and you start to aromatize, which that means the testosterone turns into estrogen. That can happen. And for me, that happened around 1,000, which wasn't good, because not only can stuff like that make you develop more breast tissue, but it can also activate the milk ducts in men's nipples, and apparently transgender men's as well. I don't like talking about this because it freaked me the fuck out, and I had to go to my doctor immediately over that, and I found out my levels were way too high, and I had to start staggering my dose a lot further apart. It was fucking traumatizing to me, and that's why I don't talk about it, and this will probably be the only time I ever mention it. And it made me extremely desperate for top surgery, and it was like the final nail in the coffin for my decision to not have nipples. I absolutely did not ever want that to happen again. And I am still very happy with that decision. It wasn't the only reason that I decided not to have them. There was plenty of other reasons, mostly aesthetic, because I don't believe that almost any surgeon can really put them on in a way that I feel would look natural. So I just decided to get rid of them. But that freaked me out and traumatized me so much. It was like, yeah, definitely. There's absolutely no way I'm going to look back and say, maybe I should have. And absolutely not. And the final topic I think that I will cover is the subcutaneous versus intramuscular shots. my levels reached 1,000 again while I was doing subcutaneous shots. When I had those side effects, I was doing intramuscular shots. And I wanted to point that out because a lot of people will tell you that your levels will be generally lower on subcutaneous shots than if you did intramuscular. And while it is true you'll receive the testosterone faster and easier if you do it in the muscle, you still can get too high levels if you do it in the fat. So don't be afraid to do subcutaneous shots instead of intramuscular because you think your levels will sit too low. Because mine got up to 1,000 again, and that's when he had me stagger my shots every 10 to 14 days. And I've been feeling just fine. I notice every so often, like maybe once a month, every other month, I'll be feeling like really shitty, and then I'll realize, I'll look at the calendar, oh, it's about shot time. And sometimes within the hour I feel better. So, most people, I think, agree that they feel a little bit better after their shot, especially if they were feeling shitty before their shot. And I wanted to provide that information for subcutaneous because there's not that much out there, and I actually have done both intramuscular and subcutaneous and have had bad side effects, and have had my levels get too high, and I've had to change my dose. And my doctor said that he just thinks my body has gotten used to being on testosterone for so long, so that I probably don't need to take it as often anymore. I have not had a hysterectomy yet, so that's probably a factor in why my mood and energy levels go up and down with my shot schedule. I've heard that you get more balanced out after hysterectomy, but I am putting that particular surgery off until I've made a decision about if I'm going to have children. I don't see me ever carrying a child, but I might want to use something of my DNA, and it's still a traumatizing process because everything I've heard requires you to go off of hormones. But if it's a one-time thing so that I could have a child, and that's what me and whatever future partner I have, because I don't even have a girlfriend yet, and that's a discussion to be had with the person I'm having the children with, is what we're going to do. So I'm putting off whether or not I'm having the hysterectomy until that decision is made. I am 26. I'm going to be 27 here in a couple of weeks. And I've been on testosterone for about 6 years. My doctor hasn't said anything about, oh, you need to get a hysterectomy or else blah, 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 blah. So, I think I'm still in the clear. Unfortunately, I do know that my fucking female parts still work, because if I have gone times where I've not been able to get a shot and it started back up again, so I know the fuckers still work. But I don't know what the hell I'm doing about kids yet. So that's a decision I'm leaving up to future me. I think that's roughly everything I wanted to talk about. And this video is about to be too long. I can't make anything over 15 minutes. Oh well. Yeah. If you guys have any questions or want more information about testosterone that I didn't cover, feel free to ask in the comments. If I get a lot of questions I can't just readily answer, I could make a part 2 video. Alright, Wolfgang out.